Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new Critique the Community. It's been a while since we've done one. It's been even longer since I've been here with you.
Yeah, it's been what, 4 months since I've seen you?
Yeah, and you know, we have changed our critique to a live critique, and you can find that on the Fstoppers live channel. But since this is going to be pre-recorded, we don't have our crazy live setup here. We're going to put this on the regular channel. So
I like it. It's good to be.
Hopefully people are excited to see you. I'm excited to see you. We are maintaining a safe 6 inches distance, right?
Yeah.
6 inches, right?
You got your test recently.
I did. I've come back negative on everything, but you know, those tests are only good for such a short period of time.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm clean.
So you ready to critique some images?
Yeah. What are we doing today?
Familiar with the rating
of course.
system? Before we get into this critique, we need to come up with a new critique for the next Critique the Community. Do you have any ideas?
What if we do something like design related? It could be like lifestyle, architecture, just anything like you might see.
What about just design?
Design, yeah, sure.
And you know, I think the next critique is going to be live in Puerto Rico, but it's going to be Lee and a guest. Maybe it'll be his wife or somebody.
Yeah, she's in that
That'd be
field,
good. So, okay, so if you want to do the next critique, you can go to the link below, or you can head over to fstoppers.com/contest. As always, the first image is going to win a free tutorial. You can head over to fstoppers.com/store to pick that out. Here is the #1 highest rated image. Now, I didn't tell you this.
What are we doing? What is this?
I didn't tell you what this critique is. No, the critique this week is...
Still statues?
This is the first time we've ever attempted a nude photography critique.
Oh, goodness.
And as you'll notice,
I'm sorry,
all of these...
wife. I'm sorry.
All of these, I didn't tell you beforehand, but there we are.
All right.
So, now because of YouTube, we had to censor all of these images, but if you want to see the full uncensored images, head to this particular critique at fstoppers.com/contest, and you can see all of these images. There were some really amazing submissions.
I mean, this first one is fantastic, so I can see why it's
the #1 image. So, highest rated image in the critique. Are you ready to...
So what specific, it's just nude portraiture?
Yeah, so I don't know what kind of portfolio, you know, there's a lot of photographers that just have flat out nude portfolios. Maybe it could be boudoir. This almost has like a fashion, I mean, there's no clothing here, but it's kind of a fashion.
I'll probably approach this from a fine art perspective of like what you might, who knows.
Definitely not weddings.
Yes.
Definitely not wedding comments. All right, you ready?
I'll do 4.
4 stars.
Agreed. I mean, this, to me, this is very like statuesque. It reminds me just like the body paint, the lighting obviously doesn't match like a Roman statue, but like her pose and the body paint like makes me think like of some Roman statue.
Now, in the new live critiques that we're doing on Fstoppers Live, we also can look up all the details on how things were shot, and that is a requirement to enter the critiques, especially when we do them live. So I've tried to read a little bit about these, but it's not easy here in this setup to pull up all the details. So this photographer, I think he spray painted her with some kind of paint, which is always a little sketchy. I mean, I was just spray painted gold not too long ago in our Corona diaries. And then he had a blue light and a red light, but then he also had some kind of like gold light in the background that gives this nice little highlight, which is really cool. What do you feel about the
antlers?
The antlers. My eye keeps going to that, and I'm thinking, I either don't like them or I want them to be gold too. It just feels like that's the one little thing that I feel like maybe stands out a little bit.
It separates, like, I feel like with nude photography, it's very easy to get wrapped up in the nudity aspect of it. And I feel like this actually pulls me away from that and pulls it into more of a fine art feel, into more of an intentional, again, statuesque thing. I feel like without that, you'd be more focused on the fact that it's just a nude portrait.
This reminds me of, you remember...
I love the pose, though.
You remember the Red Hot Chili Peppers Give It Away video from like the early 90s? And they had the guys all spray painted gold. I think he had antlers on. He's like a devil. Kind of gives me that vibe. Yeah, but really cool image.
Good pose, good diagonal lines leading up to her face.
Community gives it 3.76, which...
That's pretty decent for the
critique. Pretty decent for the critique, but for the
harsh.
Community. But highest rated image... Greg, go over to fstoppers.com/store, pick out a free tutorial, and then if you will, Lee likes to get these emails. So email Lee Boris on the website, and he will hook you up with a free tutorial. Now, before we get into this critique, one thing Lee and I always forget to do is name a random image 2 through 20 for the random winner. You want to go ahead and pick a different number?
Let's do 15.
Number 15. So when we get to 15, you as well will be a lucky winner. Next image. This is image number 2. And I think this might be in the top 3 or 4 highest rated images. I don't want to give away the score here, but just kind of got like a theme going on here. What is that, like a pilot's helmet or something? Like an old school fighter pilot?
Fighter pilot.
Fighter pilot. Why is that hard for me to say?
I'm good.
You good? 3, 2, 1.
3.
I'm going 4 as well. I really just love the color tones here, and I feel like the light on her looks great. I love the styling. I think I've picked all of these images.
Okay.
I think the styling is something that really, I mean, I say styling. This is nude photography, but in many cases, I think having something a little bit more gives the image a little bit more to look at visually. I love the little scarf in the background or whatever that is tied around her. And then I love the tonal palette. I just love the blues and the purples. I really like this. This, to me, doesn't scream dude wanting to take naked pictures of girls,
Sure.
which I feel like is the easy place to go with all of this.
Sure. I think I agree with almost everything you've said. A few things pull me out from that 4 range that I feel like could be easy fixes. This is probably something we'll run into a lot with this genre, but I don't always get the props. Like, the antlers kind of fit into that statuesque thing.
It's
of
just
the last
so weird.
image. But I don't know if that I get the like old school fighter plane helmet type thing, goggles. Like, the scarf is cool. Do you just throw any prop on a girl or a naked like guy, girl, whatever? I don't love the helmet actually, but the other minor quib that I think would take this to a 4 is just the footprints in the sand, which is an easy clone out thing to me. My eyes were immediately drawn down
there. The more
there.
I look at this, the more my eye keeps going to her legs, and I feel like the leg closest to the camera, I don't know if I want a little space between the two.
There's some
or
lighting
there's
thing.
something about her ankle and her knee position. It kind of feels like it's contorted.
I
know that's so minor, but
her other leg to have like that backlight showing in between or something.
Or
like
maybe
that.
if, I know it's sand, but if she could be on her toes too,
Yeah.
maybe it would help bring the calf up and.
Or just bring that left leg back in, swing it back so that it's like more of a line. And
you know why I think I like the scarf so much? And it's because she's so centered in the frame that if you Photoshop that scarf out, if you could imagine that, I feel like she'd be too centered, it'd be too straight up, there would be no lines at all, but just that little scarf,
it's a good leading line.
Maybe even you could zoom in just the slightest bit and like cut off some of the left frame and just it kind of solves your footprints, and it just lets the line lead right to her and then the scarf back down. I don't know, I feel like it's really a pretty shot that you can do a lot with.
Yeah.
And I know you don't want to lose the mountains back there, but Community gives this one a 3.28. So I think that was in the top 3 best rated images in the community. Let's head to the next one. Is this like 50 Shades of Grey we've moved into? What is going on?
I have to say, I'm probably not going to get most of these. We'll see.
I think I've photographed 2 or 3 people naked ever in my life, and it makes me incredibly uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, especially if they're strangers. I got hired once to shoot a Valentine's picture for her husband who was in the military coming back, and it was referred to me by a makeup artist. Okay. And she said, "Do you think you could do this picture? I have a client looking to do this." And at the time I was working at Ritz Camera, and I was like, "I'll take any job I can get. Tell her $400 and I'll do it." And then I meet the girl, and it was just like super awkward because she wasn't in this kind of shape. And it's always weird to me. I even have this issue with the boudoir stuff, is like, she wants to take a sexy picture for her husband, but if I was the husband, I would just be like, whose studio were you in and who was photographing you? I don't know. It's a weird thing to me. I don't really get it. But when you go down this direction, like it starts, I'm always thinking like, what is the photographer telling her to come up with this crazy concept? Or is this her concept to begin with? Because I feel like, when you collaborate with a lot of people, a lot of times it's the photographer just being like, here's what we're going to do today.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm paying the talent, I'm going to do my project. Now, if it's all free, then I try to give everyone an equal say So we all leave with, I don't know. I'm going down this rabbit hole a bit.
I'm going to restate this probably for 50% of these images. I don't quite, well, we haven't even rated this.
Well, what's interesting is I can see this is Greg who took the first image.
Oh, repeat.
So this is the same guy.
Okay.
But I'm ready to rate it if you are.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
3. I'm giving it this rating mostly from like a technical, overall visual thing. Again, I don't know that I get I'm sure there's like some fine art element to this, but like it plays into the whole 50 Shades of Grey bondage thing, which is up some people's alleys. It's not mine. So like if it's going that route, I definitely don't have much comment on it.
You're not into it from a photography standpoint, or you don't do bondage at all?
Either.
Oh, okay. So you're literally not into this.
So from a photography perspective, though, I love the lighting. The light on her is great. The visual lines are good. The red really pops, gives good interest. I feel like there's a lot from a just kind of technical put-together point that is interesting to me.
How do you feel, and I'm trying to remember the backstory on this. This was shot in a studio, and you can kind of tell they've built a set. Do you feel like the set stands out too much? Would you go the extra step and feel like this image would be stronger with some antique furniture or something else? I just keep going to this line on the floor, and I can tell that it's not, maybe if you put baseboard down there.
That's exactly what I was just going to suggest.
It would start to feel more like a real install. But here, to my eye, I just say this is a backdrop with the studio built. Nothing necessarily wrong with that. I just think if you're going to go through all of the steps to get this image, would you put some kind of chair and some kind of armoire and like a mirror, something else to make it feel maybe a little rug, just barely? I don't know what it would be.
I don't think adding furniture, like, to me, part of the image, one of the elements, of the image that I like is the simplicity. Like, there's nothing else going on. Like, cropping out that.
Take out this left side of the
left side. I don't know if you can do that and keep the composition, but just keeping it clean seems nice to me. But you're right, that little gap between the floor, I don't know if you could just like, seems like he used wallpaper or something, if you could just have a little extra hanging or something to even that out, or just Photoshop that out somehow. Maybe that'd look better.
Well, community gives this one 3.25, so again, one of the top images. So here we've gone into, what would you say this is kind of like abstract?
Sure.
This is definitely...
It's all abstract fine art to me, like weird.
But this has more of a, I'm trying to be a fine artist versus the girl on the dune type of shot. That's like a different... I don't even know if I could really say that's like traditional fine art. But
maybe it's just mixing the genres. That was more like landscape, girl in the wild thing. This is more just, I don't know, trying to make something visually interesting in a studio.
Yeah. Are you ready?
Sure.
3, 2, 1. I'm between a 2 and a 3. There's part of me really likes this and likes some of the tones and stuff, but then I start looking at these really bright highlights that are closest to her body, and I'm almost wanting those to be pure white or for there to be more detail. There's something about it that just feels kind of cheap. It feels like you've taken the level slider or the dodge and burn tool and you've tried to salvage something. And maybe that's not even true. Maybe the raw file looks great. But the way this has been post-processed, I don't like this highlight on her left. And
yeah, I agree. The tonalities are too contrasty for my taste. I think from a composition standpoint, I almost wish she was more angled, to be a little more diagonal in the frame.
Yeah.
I think the lighting, similar. I don't know if it's lighting or post, but it's very contrasty, especially with the material that you put over her.
I keep wanting to just Photoshop out this stuff on the left and make it go pure white. And I don't know if you could cut out this fabric right along her waistline, or if you could selectively allow just little strips to kind of come off as if like you're not sure what it is.
Yeah.
But the way that it is now, it's just strange to see the brightest part of her body, the brightest part of the background along the shadow side of her body, and then still have detail. I don't know, something weird's going on there that I'm like the only guy looking at this picture complaining about the background, but...
No, I mean, I agree. I think it's just a little...
How do you feel about the tone? This isn't like a true black and white. It almost has like some blues,
yeah,
metallic in it or something.
The more I look at this, the more it feels a little more painterly to me.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate a little bit more. From like a photo standpoint, I don't really like this style, but maybe from like a painterly look, I can appreciate that more. But
see,
yeah,
when I see this,
there's a little bit of tonality.
There's something about this though that I feel like, I just told you I'm not really into the boudoir thing as a guy. Like I wouldn't want necessarily my girlfriend to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe I would enjoy shooting my girlfriend or wife, instead of having somebody else do it. But this is like abstract enough to where like I kind of get this more than, my significant other naked in a chair trying to act sexy for me. That's always been weird to me. But this, I feel like, you wouldn't put this up in your house or anything, but it's more artsy to where if you're a boudoir photographer, maybe something like this, I feel like, it's just my opinion, might be more desirable than like the girl laying across the floor or something. I don't know.
No, I think this is far more artistic than...
Community gives it a 2.5, so they're kind of a little bit higher than us. But next image. Now, I've been doing a lot of water photo shoots in Puerto Rico. I'm calling it my water series, just because I have nothing else to call it. And so I have a few more videos coming out that deal with water or water-themed shoots. I'm not shooting anything like this, though.
Not yet.
Not yet, no.
There's still room in this summer.
3, 2, 1.
I'm torn on this one. I almost went 3.
I went 4.
You went 4, wow.
I really like this. To me, this is like super classy and simple, and she's naked, but it's not really about that at all. That
was my first impression, and I wanted to go 3, but the more I don't know, the closer I look to it, I love the like... Scary.
You all right there?
Yeah, just a little tickle.
You get 7 inches away?
Yeah. I love the like, just pale blue tones. I love that. And I love the simplicity, like you're saying. To me, something about the lighting and the post-processing, when I focus in on her elbows and her face, just seems a little cheap. It doesn't seem like doesn't seem like much retouching has been going on. It's just like uneven skin tones and little...
I do see some of the color blotchiness.
If that was cleaned up, if it was all like clean, like her forehead and her cheeks have a little too much reddish tone for me. If that was all like cleaned up and closer to the skin tone on the lit part of her face, or even the skin tones of her underwater, I think I would give this a 4.
Because her complexion is really good. I mean, there's a few things here and there, maybe on her chin, you could clean up just slightly. But, I feel like we see so many images that are so overly retouched, especially in the nude female genres, I feel like I get a little frustrated when I see skin too perfect. But I see what you're saying here. It's not necessarily the complexion. It's like there's just this like rosacea red.
Yeah, it's just a tonality issue.
It's kind of like on the side closest to the camera. And you would like it to be just toned down a little to match the highlighted side behind her.
I mean, honestly, I think that's partly a lighting issue too. I feel like maybe just a little more fill light in there, if that'd be possible, would help fix that as well. But other than that, like I really like the simplicity of this image. Yeah.
It's another thing where I don't know what the purpose of a lot of these images are, but I keep going back to boudoir because that's the only genre that I know that people are making a lot of money from people actually hiring you. Most of the time you're shooting naked people, they want to be shot naked, and maybe they're even charging you because they're in such high demand, But with boudoir photography, you have people you've never met typically wanting to hire you, and I see a business model there more than other places. And this is the sort of thing where, like, if you could have a little kiddie pool or something and have this set that you're able to use all the time, I think it'd be really cool if you were a boudoir photographer and you could do this sort of stuff consistently.
Yeah.
I think that would be a really good little setup to have.
I don't see approaching this genre much from like a commercial, financial perspective almost ever. I feel like most people in this genre who are exploring these types of pictures, I think are just doing it from like an interest thing of like exploring the human body as
the number one reason people probably pick up a camera.
One thing I do really like that grabs my attention is the reflection of her eyelashes.
Yeah, you like it or don't like it?
I think it's cool. It is a little eye-catching. Like
her nose and lips, it's almost one of those where you see like
it's
a
very
second face.
interesting to me though. Like it grabs my attention. Like it is a little. It just distracts a little bit from the simplicity element of the picture, but it's also just a cool element to the as well.
And you said that a lot of people are shooting this stuff for free. Lee and I and you, I think a lot of us, we always try to approach this on this channel as how do you make money with photography?
Yep.
And some of this stuff, like I said, you may not make money shooting naked girls. Very, 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 very few people make a living doing that. But I still, for me, want to approach it from that direction of what can you do for your portfolio so that somebody says, oh my gosh, I want you to do that for me, whatever genre that is, and I'm willing to give you money. So I don't know this field as well, but community on this image gives it 2.8, so they're closer to you than me. But I really love this image. I think it's...
Yeah, I think meeting in the middle at 3 is probably fair.
No boy.
There we go.
Is this the
Thanks
first...
for bringing some diversity into this,
Is
Patrick.
this the first nude photo that they haven't been nude? Like, they're nude, but we're not... It's leaving a lot to the imagination.
Well...
I don't know. Everything else is shown
it's all
something.
perspective, so...
There's a lot of perspective.
There's a lot hidden in the other pictures as well, if that's what you're implying.
There's a lot showing in the other pictures too, but all right.
I definitely see the commercial viability.
Are you ready for this?
3 to 4, I'm torn.
I'm going 4 here as well.
I could probably be convinced. Well staged scene. I don't know why. I'm being too picky at a 3. I could easily go 4. Well staged scene. I love the pose with the model. And the like cowboy boots with the hat. Like everything flows together very well in this shot.
I wonder. We were talking about the story of the dominatrix or the bondage picture. I wonder how this image came about. Is this we're on set doing something completely different and just jump in there and let me get a test shot with you, or are you like, hey, I have this idea. And I want to use your crazy location because they didn't build this, right? This is somebody's like estate home or something. There was an image that Lee and I critiqued a while back where it was shot in a similar style. It might have been a little more moody light. There was no back window. And the guy is like holding a hamburger. And it looks like, it reminds me a lot, I don't know if you've seen this commercial from years ago of Taco Bell, where they're all dressed up in this Renaissance type of stuff and they're just eating tacos and it's super messy.
I feel like I remember that.
It felt like that, and this image feels like that a little bit too to me. And I just really love this, but I keep thinking like, is this the shoot you went in there to get? Or this was like a happy mistake?
No, I feel like this is intentional. It's almost, you've seen all those joke Facebook threads of like, the guy doing the maternity shoot and like it's kind of like satirical. This feels almost satirical to me of like just the guys doing the Titanic pose. Draw me like one of your French boys.
Is it called? Is it Dudoir?
Dudoir, yeah.
Dudoir.
So so one of the detracting elements, the statue obviously is well placed, but it's almost
the feather.
Well, just the whole head and the statue.
I'm trying to guess where you're going with this. Is there something?
It's almost too distracting, and maybe that's the point. Like you're just like completely hiding it, intentionally. But like my eyes get drawn more to the statue head than to him as the subject. It's kind of like blatant in your face, and again, maybe that's an intentional choice that you're like clearly hiding parts of his body, but
I keep going back to the feather. Like, does the feather need to be there? Could you put the feather behind him?
Yeah, maybe that would help.
The feather just adds such a weight and hides the leg and like,
I
don't know. I really do like this. I give this a 4. I love the tonality and
super well shot.
It's just makes you. I always like images that make you stop and like laugh or examine it or think outside the box a little bit. Yeah. I feel like you throw this into a lot of different portfolios. This isn't even like a boudoir, nude, joke portfolio. Like
this is like CEO portrait, like.
I mean, yeah.
not
but you could,
I mean, like Hollywood actor type.
I could see, what's the guy in the news a lot? The guy who does Barstool Sports, who's been talking about like, I'm better than Warren Buffett and all this. Like, he could hire you to do a portrait of himself like this, and it would be legit, you know. Or there's so many celebrity photographers that shoot in this kind of style. So I see an image like this compared to a lot of the stuff we've already seen, and I'm just like, yes, that type of image is going to get a reaction out of people.
Yep.
And it's probably going to get you a lot more jobs than doing the same Instagram naked girl photo that you see over and over again.
Yeah.
Luckily, a lot of the images we've seen so far, I feel like, are better than those.
Yeah.
But
there's intentionality to most of them.
this is pretty high too.
That's good. No, I'd probably change my vote.
3.42. So right between you and I. Next image. Oh, and this is
edited.
This is the edited version. So I tried to
There you
put
go.
the non-edited here so that we could critique them with no barriers. But this one,
Well, I don't mind. I think I can leave it up to my imagination.
yeah, you know what's under those little pixels?
Tell me, Patrick.
More pixels.
More pixels.
More detailed pixels. So this image, there was actually a second version of this, and I think she was like trimming her pubic hair or something.
Okay.
And it was shot in the same style, but I just felt like, that felt a little strange to me. Maybe in the world of nude photography, you'd put that on your website, but this felt a little more
To me,
interesting
this
to me.
feels a little more. It's less fine art and more like just documentarian style, like Nat Geo capturing daily life. I don't know that
Would
many
you be
women
upset
just
if
like place their palms up to
right,
mirrors
right. That's what I was going to
each
say.
day. But
Would you be concerned if Ryan was constantly staring at herself in the mirror like this with her
probably
hands?
wouldn't mind the view of my wife doing that, but
I would be like, "Are you okay, babe? Is there something? Are you concerned with something?"
just staring. No, but like I can appreciate the setting and the feel and the vibe. I feel like it's a very cohesive image. We haven't rated it yet.
Are you ready?
Sure.
3, 2, 1.
3. Yeah, keep going on that line. I'd give it that rating because within that like mindset, I feel like it's visually interesting. It's like everything flows together within this black and white really well. I feel like
What I love about this image is that so many times we see images where there's a dude in a gas mask or a naked girl or somebody dressed crazy and they're in these dilapidated buildings. It just looks like you found some place that's like, oh, let's go do a shoot in an old building. But I think, and I don't know if this was styled this way or this is somebody's real home, but the toothbrushes and just the little touches to make you think that this is really lived in makes this feel more intimate than if you had just gone to like an old bathroom, like, you know, you and I both lived in Sergeant Jasper. We both lived in the same building. I mean, I don't know that my walls in my shower were this bad, but they weren't much better than this, you know? And so I just feel like it's nice to, this might even be,
real.
this might be even like a little thing that I would just suggest, is if you're going to go to some dilapidated building and shoot, maybe bring some little supplies to make it feel lived in. Put some towels and stuff. And then it just takes your mind away from reading it as, oh, there's a person in an old building.
Yeah.
But I don't know what I would do to make this a 4. I love the tonality. This looks so classic to me. They got this little vignette paper thing on it.
I was just gonna ask, how do you feel about that? I feel like it's just a tad overdone. It makes it feel like an old like printout Polaroid.
I know, but I kind of like
picture.
that.
I like it. It just feels a little heavy on the edges, just a little too white maybe.
I don't know if that bothers me. This effect is like in exposures. What do they call it?
Software? Exposure
Yeah,
software.
it's Exposure X. It used to be called Alien Skin. I just keep going back to that. But this effect on like a color image or something probably wouldn't work, but I really like it here. And I think the tonality is great, and this just looks like so many of the great photographers, like this fits into that style of portraiture.
Yep.
That I do like it. You know, there's so much detail in the towel and everything and the blurred mirror. I really like it.
Yeah. I like it.
Community gives this one a 2.8. Anything you've been doing lately that's been exciting? What have you been doing while you've been here in Charleston?
We've been laying pretty low quarantining, so I think the funnest activities are backyard kiddie pool parties.
Oh, yeah.
Surprisingly more entertaining than I would have originally thought. Just
And you're having friends come over, or this is just for
going over to a friend's house. We've got a friend that has a big, spacious backyard. It's great. Nice tree cover, so you can pick your shade or sun.
Yeah.
Everybody brings some of their own food, and you can hang out socially distant. summer in Charleston, it just gets so hot.
I know.
It's just beastly. So that cool water, if you can't, the beaches are.
Are they closed here?
They're closed every now and then for like the super busy days, but they're just so packed on the other days. So I feel like it's almost more responsible to go to do something like that. Yeah.
What's so wild being here is everyone is telling me every day that we are in the top 5 hotspots in America. We are the number 1 hotspot in America.
Growing, yeah.
And you'll go to the subreddit for Charleston, and there's an article, and but then I talk to people, and they're like, "Oh, I thought we were in the number 1 hotspot." And I'm just thinking, like, is every newspaper writing articles about every town? It's like San Antonio is the biggest hotspot, and Orange County is the biggest and I'm just like, so the whole time I've been thinking, oh man, David, you're living here in like the worst place, and I'm about to fly to Charleston.
Yeah, but I mean, when you guys aren't here, like I'm working.
You're pretty isolated.
Yeah, I'm working alone in the office. My wife works from home, so it's like we really don't get out and are exposed to. I mean, the most exposure was when you and Lee came back, and Lee came back from like the top 5. After visiting, 4 of the 5 top cities of growth?
Yeah, he went to Orlando, he went to Jacksonville, he went to Tampa, and then he went to Charleston. I'm like, dude, I've seen Lee for just a few hours at dinner. And then we went our own way, and then he's now gone. And so I haven't seen Lee really much at all in the last couple weeks.
That was probably more exposure I've gotten than before. All right, next picture.
All right, here's the next one. Kind of...
So this is the type of picture that I feel is more classy in my mind has more of that artistic nude feel to me. That like it's more timelessly classy than a lot of the just straight visual.
I wonder how much of that has to do with the pose or the shadows or like just the one light, hard light look, Yeah,
I think
because the second you add a rim light and you start really sculpting it stops looking classic. It starts looking modern.
Yeah.
The fact that it's just a hard light really kind of accentuates that.
Let's rate it. I'm 3.
I'm between a 2 and a 3. I mean, it's okay. Like, I don't know, for me, this does a whole lot for me.
I think one thing I would find more interesting that would be interesting to explore, potentially raise the score in my mind, is play around with adding some sort of fill/kickers around her back and or like edge of the legs. See how her elbow on this right side kind of has a little bit of that reflection that just kind of brings her out more than just a straight black and white line against the background.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So you're saying like super subtle.
Just a real subtle hint of that like side fill.
Yeah.
Just to edge out. I realize the point is just like light her face and keep her body completely unlit, but it'd be interesting to play around with that. I don't know.
So much of this really comes down to like really being meticulous with the posing.
Yeah.
And now that you said something about the wraparound with her leg, like my eye keeps going to her leg and thinking, does her legs look strange? Like,
should it be more extended?
Well, does the shape of the leg going on the arm and back down, it's like almost causing a fairly unnatural shape. It's like, it's not a true crouching position, and it's not a fetal position, but I don't know, maybe we're splitting hairs.
I mean, any little advice to elevate the photo? I kind of agree with that. Maybe like a little farther extension of the knee to where it's like the elbow's meeting the knee visually, or the leg is even a little more angled on the lower half, angled out, so that there's a little more, just fills a little more of the frame.
The other thing that I keep going back to is like the light on her nose. It's like the shadow and her facial position. There's just something, especially with that right nostril, the left nostril that we're looking at. It's like something right there. That shadow is just.
You want it a
little
more elongated?
I want her nose just pointed just towards the light, like 2%, and I feel like.
Or away from the light, in my opinion. Like, give a little more of that Rembrandt.
Yeah, you could drag the shadow really hard over.
One way or the other.
There's something about that one little shadow there that.
Yeah, I agree. It hides. It kind of. You lose the definition.
I think for me, this is one of those images where it's so simple, but it's not flawless. That over time, I think this might be an image that would be replaced.
Yeah.
But I also see this image and I'm like, man, how many famous photographers, you buy their book and it's tons of pictures like this, but it's Demi Moore and you're like, oh my gosh, what a great portrait. It's like one of the most iconic nude portraits of that celebrity, but they're not totally nude. You know, it's just like this, I mean, it's not implied, it's nude, but you don't see a lot. So, I don't know, I can go either way with it. I don't think this is like the strongest image we've seen yet, but I do like it. It's a really nice, simple image. Community gives this a 2.86.
All right.
Now, this photograph was actually rated, I'll give you a hint, it was rated really poorly. But there were a lot of photographs just like this. I'm sure you've seen them, where they put the oil and they have the water beads and it's this backlit bodyscape thing. That might even be a genre, bodyscapes. But they all look to me, some of them are rated really highly, they all look to me just like, I've seen that 1,000 times. But when I came across this one made me stop and say, wait a minute, like, let me put this in the critique just to get your opinion and to show our viewers something that's a little different than what I was seeing over and over and over again.
I'm ready.
Between a 2 and a 3, like, I don't know that I love this, but
I think this is more visually interesting than
I'm going to change it to a 3. I think
directly.
This, when I really do think about it, it's not the craziest photograph. It's not compositionally amazing or anything, but
I feel like with bodyscapes, well done bodyscapes, you look at it and you have to do a double take of what you're actually seeing. And that was when the image first pulled up. That's what I thought. I had to like orient myself to what is where and what am I actually looking at. Like at first I didn't know if some of these bones were like a super skinny person hip bones like from the back, or if it was like
a shoulder or something. Yeah, like
obviously she's belly up.
Right.
After looking at it, but yeah, I feel like that is what makes these images interesting. Is like, yeah, you're just trying to figure out like, oh, this is the human form, and it's I don't know, it's visually interesting and well lit. I really like in this image definitely the lighting. I feel like it makes it feel more landscapey, bodyscapey. My one quip. And maybe you could argue this adds to it, but I feel like you could do a little skin cleanup for some of these moles and freckles and little skin tags that, maybe you could argue that adds to some of the
realism or something. I keep going and like, it makes you stop and think that, like, man, this is kind of eerie and creepy, because this does seem like they're malnourished. It's
very skeletal, yeah.
Right, and it's so easy to have an image like this that's super sexy with the perfect body, but how many times do you actually stop and look at an image like that longer than 20 seconds?
Yeah.
This, I feel like you instantly get a reaction, and you know it's human, but you're like, wait, where is this? How is this lined up? Yeah. Even now when I look at this, I'm assuming it's female from the middle to the left. But then when I look at the right, I'm like, that rib cage, like, where would her breasts be? Or where's the top of her chest? How far to the right is her head? I'm still, like, a little unsure of what I'm looking at. And I'm also really unsure that, like, is this just a normal model that you got and somehow they did this with their body? Or is this, like, somebody on the brink of death? Or how did they feel about getting their photo taken, knowing that there's just, my mind goes in so many different directions. Yeah. That makes this really, really interesting. But it's a weird photo.
Yeah.
Community gives this one a 2.59. So
not bad.
Between us, but I think I'm going to give that a 3. Like, that's a cool image that I don't know where it belongs in your portfolio, but...
I mean, if you do bodyscapes, I feel like this fits in well.
Yeah. All right, ready? 4.
I could easily see this as like an album cover.
Yeah. Definitely has that vibe, doesn't it?
Yeah. Lighting's great, toning's great, composition's great. I love the hair flick. I love that it's coming over her face and showing just the one eye, but it leads you into the rest of the hair. Great styling with the whatever the bar is. I love that the chrome jewelry matches that well, and yeah, beautiful.
What do you think of his watermark? Flash and Models.
Flash and Model.
I think that needs a little bit of work, right?
Closer, yeah. I might take that out.
I agree with everything you're saying. I feel like this could be an album cover. This could, gain a lot of attention if this is a celebrity. Like, this is really, really cool. I think my only critique that keeps me from putting this into 4 like you is, to me, there's something about it where the skin feels a little too retouched. It's like I look at her backside and it feels real. And then I look at her face and I'm like, it feels plastic.
And her arms a little
bit. And her arms, yeah, a little bit. And so, I don't know. I want it.
That's fair.
I want the top part of her face and her arms to match more of her leg. Maybe you could even retouch the leg just slightly if you're going to go down that road.
Yeah.
But I feel like the face and the arms are retouched too much.
Super polished for sure. I just love, everything about her pose seems so meticulously coordinated. Even her fingers are doing these, very interesting things. And yeah,
it's a cool image.
Even with the skin thing, it pushes it to a 4
with black skin, you can get these really cool highlights and everything in it, and then the gray, bluish background.
Yeah, great toning.
The tones in this image are just really, really nice. So, community gives this one 3.24, so also one of the higher rated images. Oh boy. Now, you did an image like this in college, right? Your roommate?
Yeah, me and my roommates definitely.
It was back before Atlas in the Sun. Was it the inspiration for, let me just get rid of the other human and let me just get the sun involved.
Going down the Greek route for sure.
There was a debate. I read the comment on this one, and this is modeled after some
it's clearly
less famous Renaissance painting, but somebody was saying that there's a Michelangelo that's also very similar to this.
Yeah.
You ready to rate this?
3.
3. I'm close to giving this a 4.
I agree with that's exactly the impression that strikes me first. Is this is an artistic recreation, be it a statue or a painting? I don't know what the reference is, but I feel like in recreating that, there are a few things off to me that pull me away from that painterly or statuesque vibe. Part of that is the shadow on the floor from the lighting. I don't know how you would necessarily remove that, but I feel if you removed that and this kick light on the guy laying back's head, I feel like if you took out those lights, it would feel more painterly or statuesque to me. And if somehow you could even out the bottom toning to where it felt more flat like the top does, and just keep all the lighting focused on this holding pose. There's great leading lines throughout. My eyes are drawn all throughout the image, but then it gets kind of to that bottom with that shadow there, and there's a dead stop. And then when I hit this guy's head, just that lighting doesn't feel like it belongs, especially because you don't see it anywhere else in the image, really, except it's just his hair and maybe a little on his shoulder right there. It just
I see what you're saying.
Draws me out a little bit.
Does he have headphones on or something? What is going on?
Oh, what is that?
Maybe that's a tattoo or something. And then does he have a mustache? The guy on the right.
I think that's just lighting. I think the shadow, it's lip shadow.
I don't know. I really, really like this. I love that it's in a studio setting and it has that classic portraiture look, but in a modern environment where it stands out. I keep going to the chair and thinking I kind of wish there was some kind of better chair. I don't know what that chair would look like. Maybe it's even one of those big wicker throne chairs or something. But I feel like if you put a darker backdrop, you did some tapestry, and you put a rug, and you just put a few little things in here, the lighting would suddenly now look great in a classic type of environment like you're saying.
If you put these guys in the layback setting.
Yes, with the guy that had the statue in front of his crotch. that would be amazing. Like, I might like that even more. But the fact that you got this, like, blue backdrop, I still really like this. I'm not so turned off by all the shadows and stuff that you're mentioning. Maybe I would want the hair light that's on the guy in the lap to also be hitting the side of the guy's face a little bit.
Yeah, some sort of cohesion
just to
there.
Make it a little more cohesive, but I really like this.
Yeah.
I think this is really cool. I think the way he's holding them and the styling and the pose and the expression and their body, everything about this looks like, it doesn't look half-assed. Now, I don't know what's going on with the headphones and like the little
And the
dark Well, yeah, but I mean, I feel like they look. I feel like they look good.
I kind of like the chair, honestly. You said you didn't like it. I feel like it adds it plays into the composition of his legs very well. Like it adds this extra visual.
Yeah, maybe I'm being
cohesion.
too picky, but
yeah. Anyway,
community gives it a 2.5. So we both rated this much higher than the community. All right, we are halfway through this critique. We need to get going a little quicker. So here we have a really different lighting style. And I don't know if this is the same photographer, but lately Lee and I, we had something like a technology one a couple weeks back or months back, and this type of gelled lighting looks very similar to one of the photographers that was in that critique. So I'm curious after this to see if that's the same guy. Again, you can go to fstoppers.contest and click on this specific critique community, and not only can you see the unedited images, but you can also browse through all of these photographers' portfolios and get a better understanding of the type of photography that they do. Are you ready?
yeah,
All right. 3, 2, 1.
I'm going with a 4.
I could see why.
It's kind of a 3.5 in my mind, but beautiful. Like I really like how everything's playing together. Great light choice. I really like the color light painting in the bottom left, whether that's a post-processing flare that you've added or some sort of long exposure technique.
It almost looks like she's got some kind of piece of fabric.
Maybe that's it.
Then
Yeah,
she's
that
like
makes sense.
spinning it.
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, I really like that addition. The lighting on her defines her great. Just the separation of color tonalities really bring out each part of her body and draws your eyes through the whole frame.
Yeah, I love the color in this. I have experimented with gels so many times, and usually I'm good with up to 2 colors.
Yeah.
This has 1, 2, 3, at least 4 colors. You got the purple in the background, and then you got the red, and then you got the cyan, and then you got the yellow.
Yep.
And I feel like every time I go down this route, it looks so cheesy.
It's hard to do well.
But this, I don't know. Maybe this would look cheesy if it was a normal subject matter, but because she's kind of graceful and she's got the tattoo and the lighting and the whimsical thing on the bottom, like it all comes together in a way that it just looks really cool. I do wish her left hand was like
in the frame.
Maybe even holding that piece of fabric. I feel like that would maybe that would give me that strong 4.
I feel like one thing we haven't talked about much so far in this critique that to me really separates the more artistic images from the ones that are just like you're shooting naked girls is just the expression that the model puts off. I feel like almost all of the images that we've seen, the expression is very neutral or soft or like
it's not have sex with me right now.
Yeah, there's nothing sensual about it. There's there's no like excited face. It's just like it's clearly stating that this is not meant to be viewed with the intention of sexuality in mind. It's meant to be viewed in a calmer, like artistic mindset. Just appreciating the.
That's a really hard line to draw too.
It is.
You know, like you don't.
I see it in this image. Like it's just such a. Her face is just so soft and serene, and it just. I mean, matches the mood of everything else you mentioned with the styling of the thing.
Have you ever taken an image where you felt like when you look at it, it was never supposed to be sexy, but somehow it turns out to be a little sexier than what you want, and that makes you feel uncomfortable because you start thinking about what your audience is thinking, and it's like...
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
I've had that happen with a couple of weddings, pictures.
Yeah.
I've had some pictures where like I have a really good-looking bride, and it was just not supposed to be anything, but like the look she gave me or
the angle you capture
something
from, whatever
happens, and I'm like, man, this image is cool. I love everything about this, and she's a great looking girl, but it feels too sexy to where I don't want to put it in my wedding portfolio because I don't want my wedding clients to think that, like, I don't know. It's
I mean, that's something you just deliver, but don't put on your website for sure.
Community gives this one 2.73. Let's keep going.
The tree with the
naked girl,
naked body. Who was that Charleston photographer who did that?
Yeah, his name was...
He ended up like getting in trouble or something at some point.
Oh, his name's right there.
He did like the whole Angel Oak series, and...
I hope he doesn't see this because he's going to be so mad that I don't remember his name. But one of the very first Fstoppers videos we ever did was with the guy who does the Tree Spirit Project. If you look up Tree Spirit Project, his name's like right there. Goodness, I haven't thought of him in years, but he does a whole series where he does naked people, not just women, but like groups of people.
Yeah.
And he places them around trees, and the idea is that it brings awareness to trees and that we will save the trees. I don't know if that totally is the message that we all come across, but I thought it was really cool. It was one of the first videos we ever did on Fstoppers. We did that in the first year.
Well, let's rate this.
All right. I'm between a 2 and a 3.
I'm definitely 2 for this. Like the concepts, I feel like it's, again, I'm trying not to really rate the concept of these. I mean, it meshes. Like she's being cuddled by the tree in most tree naked people photos.
Right.
So I think that's well done. She's well placed in that respect. Everything else about the photo to me though seems a little like poorly processed. It just has this like.
The vignette causes the whites
it's like
to go dark.
lack of clarity.
And,
it's like the blowout, like 80s feel, kind of with the rest of the image, not her, but kind of the roots here, even, and all the branches. I don't know. There's just like a cheapness to the processing to me.
It almost looks like film in a way, like bad film. I think it's the vignette that's just causing the whites to go black or gray.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess I've just seen so many images like this that it doesn't really get me anymore, you know? But I'll put a link in the description to the guy's video if it's still even on the Fstoppers channel. If you sort by oldest, it's like got to be one of the first 20 videos we ever did. But he has some really crazy looking stuff. When you add more people, it's like it takes you in a different place because now you're like, wait a minute, it's not just one person that you got naked out there. You got 20 people and they're all, some of them are like, praising the tree. It's like, it's kind of strange stuff, but I see why it gets a reaction. But community gives this one a 2.77. So this image, I remember this story. This guy was trying to take a picture of his wife in a hotel room, and he just put a single strobe in the bathroom, and it kind of gave this hazy look.
Okay.
But ready?
I'm a 2. I feel like this concept could be really cool and interesting. It's just the execution of this one doesn't really work for me. Like,
what would you like to see?
Well, the fact that like half of her leg, butt cheek, is like pressed against the glass it's just distracting to me. I feel like if it was off the glass, it would be more interesting to where all of her is hazy, or maybe you do that more somehow and press more of her body up against the glass. And then I just feel like you're losing a little too much of her upper body and her face, like to where you're just kind of losing the form and purpose. I want a little more definition of her up top and a little less down below.
I want to say,
her body.
Pi Jerz and I did a critique in the hot tub not too long, maybe it was like a year ago, but there was an image like this, but it was so blurry that it almost started to look like a horror movie cover. Like, it was like a little freaky. Like, body parts started, like, see how her arm starts to make this
just
weird
like
shape?
Disappears.
This reminds me of that image. But I do feel like, it kind of goes back to that image of the girl in the water. I feel like if you're a boudoir photographer and you had some way to create this, maybe it's just a piece of glass on rollers and you could, like, do this in your studio over and over again, and you got the pose and the opacity and everything perfect, where you could tell your clients, like, here's a type of shot that we could do. It's like the simulated shower shot. And you could pose them perfectly and get it to look really good. It would be an easy option to give people
Yep.
You know, and it would be, I don't think, difficult to put in your house or in your studio to where you could just always have that as something to do, you know?
Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, I like the concept, and I like the color. If the color was consistent, I like that, just the vibe of the image. It's just like, I either want more or less definition or more form.
This is a weird little critique. The last thing I'll leave you with on this image is that it feels like she's in the shower, but then I keep seeing like a bikini top with the color, that little blue. Yeah. I don't know what's going on there.
I don't mind the blue, like.
I think I would like it
from
better
a styling perspective.
Even if you just selectively colored that to make it fleshy, to where you just don't notice it. I don't know. It just feels like she's taking a shower with clothes on.
Well, I don't know that I get the necessarily just shower image shot. I mean, I know that's a genre thing, the like boudoir shower thing, but I like it from. I guess there is kind of like water on the glass too.
Yeah, it's like she's
if
totally
if that's the case, then yeah. If it was just like a hazy window shot, though, I like don't mind.
As I zoom into her leg, all I see now is like an avocado shape, and I can't get the avocado out. Community gives it 2.11. Next image.
Ready?
They're ready. 3, 2, 1,
4.
4. I give it a 3.
Oh, you 3? No,
I gave it a 3.
I'm just initially drawn by how fantastic the toning is.
Yeah.
I love the toning. I love the lighting. The more I look at it, maybe the pose could be a little more interesting, and like you kind of lose her right. What is that? Her right leg? Yeah, her right leg. A little much, but I'm just struck so instantly by this. Like, we've been talking about simplicity and stuff.
Yeah.
I just immediately drawn to.
I think the pose is one of the things I really do like about this. I feel like it's just different, and it's like in a different orientation, and it's not trying to show a lot, but it's also, I think Mike's always talking about, Mike Kelly, he's always talking about photographers that do this, like, what is the phrase he uses? It's,
that emotionally, what's...
it's like manufactured emotion or something like that.
Manufactured sadness or something?
Yeah, where it's like, I'm in agony and life is so hard, and I'm sure he would see this, and that's what
maybe, I don't know, this is... Maybe he would. I don't know that he would agree with
I think the reason I gave this a 3, I agree, I love the toning. There's something about her spine that makes me feel a little uneasy. But I love the toning, I love the hair, I love the pose, I love a lot about this. I just feel like I see images like this on Fstoppers all the time. And it's like you just change the photographer's name with another photographer, and it's like, how many people have these portfolios like this? And I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, but I've always wanted to get like an art buyer on this show. Somebody who like pays for photography, and see what they would say about some of these genres that I feel like are just overdone so many times. Maybe they would see this and be like, it's so beautiful. I'd love to work with somebody like that. But when I see this, I'm just kind of like, it's very pretty, but it's just, it's nothing I haven't seen over and over and over again. And Community gives this a 3.19, and you know what? This is image number 15, so they also win a free tutorial. So you get me telling you that this is an image that I've seen 1,000 times, and it's just a 3, but
your tutorial.
You do get a free tutorial. So we have a nude photography tutorial that we didn't produce.
No,
but
Andres
it's in our
Beitnish. I'm probably horribly mispronouncing that.
You know, I've never sat down and watched that, but I see a lot of people buying it. It seems like people are into nude photography. So you may want to check that one out as well. Here's another strange image that I saw that I thought.
So, yeah, no, I like, all right, I'll rate it and then discuss it.
Man, this is, okay. You ready? 3, 2, 1, 3. I give it a 3 as well.
So, we've been talking about images that take you off guard and make you look twice. Definitely this one, because at first I was like, oh, it's just two people sitting next to each other, but then you realize one of them's upside down.
Yeah, this guy on the left, that's his butt or her butt in the air, but the way that their butt shapes and everything are, like especially the guy on the left, the person on the left, you would think that maybe that could be an ass crack, but nope, it's up there.
I like that for the most part. I guess the longer I look at it, it seems like it's a guy and a girl.
I can't figure out what that detail is right between them.
At first,
I keep wanting. I almost wish that was black down there, just so when my eye doesn't go to the area between them in the middle.
I like this type of photography, and this. I feel like this is more of the artistic Renaissance look, like we've been describing a little bit. The tonality matches that, and it's very. It's just the interplay of bodies in a very non-sexual way. That's. I don't know. It's interesting. I think the pose is a little awkward with the guy like leaning over the leg. I think that's the guy. Seems like it from his hairstyle.
Yeah, it's like their neck is being snapped. It's like one of Lee's
like a jujitsu move.
Maybe this is what Lee's like. He's like, hey, I got an idea for
Renaissance
a photo shoot.
jujitsu goes back to the Grecian games or something.
We don't even have
I agree.
a gi.
The whole like light coming through the bottom.
Like,
I agree. That is definitely should be blank.
I
It
feel
seems
like
like toes. I think it's like a.
It's very eerie, but very like standard body shapes, like you said, in a weird orientation with this classic Rembrandt style lighting. And I don't know, I just saw this and I was like, you know what, this is more interesting than a lot of the other stuff that I'm seeing in the critique. Also, check out a lot of the submissions, because there was some really incredible stuff that just didn't make the cut, but I wanted to have some different things in here to talk about. Community gives this one a 2.62, so not as highly impressed as we were, but I do think that's a cool image where you could have a whole series or a book about something like that. All right, we are on the 17th image. Dude, is this the same dude?
What was the first one?
Yeah, this is the same. This guy had 3 images that snuck in here.
You picked all the same guy.
Well, Lee created this critique, and I think normally you do a check mark that says you can only do 2 images.
Or 3. Yeah.
Is it 2 or 3? Well, he got all 3 of them in there somehow. Sorry, guys. But Greg is knocking out of the park here. He's he's making images that are grabbing my attention. So, all right, 3, 2, 1.
I'll go 4. 3, 4. I think is right in there. I would say this feels a little more glamour to me than like, I guess, some of his other fine art. Just a hint more. I think it has to do with the pose and maybe just her body type and hairstyle. Feels a little more glamouresque. It's so visually interesting. I think the lighting's, again, well done. Brings out just the shapes and contours of her body, and then the pose draws your line through the frame. Again, really well done.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything about this is just really pretty and elegant, and I want to say simple, but again, I start thinking like, if I were to do this type of photography and I had somebody hire me that wanted something like this, my mind would say, let's do this pose, and then I'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't get the person in this position, and how much back strength they need, and the legs and the position. Like, I have issues where, have you ever tried to shoot somebody straight down or like down at an angle? When I have to photograph people in orientations that I'm not doing day after day, it's
starts to look
incredibly
awkward.
difficult. And so I see stuff like this, and I want to kind of discredit it like I did the other image and say I've seen 1,000 images like this, which is still true. But I also have to stop and be real and appreciate that her talent and the photographer's talent and the lighting and everything like all comes together,
Playing together very well.
to produce an image that really is technically very solid. I guess I'm just not so wowed because I feel like I see stuff like this so much. But it is done really, really well. Like, the black and white's cool. Do you like this hard edge? Like, it's almost got this circle that's going around her?
Yeah, no, I really do. I mean, she's, like, spotlighted, and I feel like it's not too, like, it's soft enough. You can tell it's some, like, either gridded or just, gridded light or just a really, maybe it's just a softbox that's close enough. I don't know, that feels gridded to me.
Yeah, it definitely has like an edge to it. Or, it's done in post. They've put some kind of vignette on it to make it feel that way. But cool image, 3.31. So again,
all of his images were
I think
up
that's
there.
why I always like to pick at least half of the images are in the top 20. And I guess he just had a lot in the top. So speaks highly of Greg.
Ooh.
This seems like an image that you would be like, hey guys, I got an idea. And Lee and I would be
400
like,
hours to
oh
create.
my gosh, David, this seems too complicated. And you're like, check it out. I'm going to do it not in Photoshop.
This is fascinating to me.
This is like Game of Thrones, or like Heaven's opened its gates to the people of hell, or something.
Yeah,
it's got this like
this
end of the
epic
world epic, like.
You got Sauron's eye right in the middle.
Yeah, it's so over the top. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1.
Easy
4.
4 for me. I'm almost tempted to give this
A 5. The elusive.
Yeah,
class.
like 5 is supposed to be something that like will stick in your mind and you'll remember that image for a long time.
This
right?
is definitely one of those images.
To me, this is close, and I don't know if anything would push it over the edge or if it's just the nature of the image. But I love, like, you can obviously an immense amount of work has gone into this. I love the concept. I love that at first I saw the bodies in the backgrounds that are, you know, half opacity or whatever. I first thought they were like smoke, and I didn't realize they were actual bodies.
Yeah.
The more I look at them close up, maybe they are. It's a little. I think you have to see the image as a whole. Like zooming in doesn't help. But yeah, I it's just beautiful.
There's something about it that just feels so like computer rendered that it makes me stop appreciating it for what it is, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Or like I want, maybe I like the people lined up more than the spirit blended people, you know? Like I think I like the sharp people up front, but I don't necessarily like the people that are large with a lower opacity.
Yeah.
There's something there that I don't know. I feel like this is really well done. The photographer's incredibly talented, but
like everything about, like, I feel like all of the people were planned almost. The lighting for each matches their position in this pyramid thing, with fall off and maybe that's just done in post. Both with fall off and pose, like they've clearly placed like intentionally the bottom people on the bottom and the ones like outstretched in very certain places to where it's...
I wonder how many people this is, because I feel like this girl and this girl, like some of these people look the same.
Yeah.
And I would imagine it'd be very hard to get 50 people to pose naked. But I recently did a photo shoot in Puerto Rico that I don't know if I'm going to be able to release it, because I don't think I'm a good enough retoucher for the concept that I had in my head. But I essentially tried to get someone to have a swimming pose without putting them in a pool and without, like, imagine trying to get somebody in the body position of swimming, but not in a zero or low gravity environment.
It's do like a jump or something?
Yeah, that's what I wound up doing. So I lit in this really weird way where I put the lights like sideways and had them jump, and it was, I think the image looks pretty cool. I just don't know what to do with it. But when I zoom into this image and I see like there's a girl right here in the middle, right below the ball of light that looks like she's in a swimming pose.
Yeah.
And there's other people that are like almost laying down and doing these really fluid motions. And before I did the shoot that I did a few weeks ago, I would have never really given any thought to that. But having just done that and failed myself, I've really come to appreciate like how some of, and not just that, but like you mentioned, these are all lit in a way that it's fairly consistent.
Yep.
It has like a highlight on one side with a little bit of fill, but it's all dramatic lighting. Some of these people, like the guy holding himself here in the middle, that has to be lit differently than the guy who's like jumping up with his, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
So I feel like you have to really be thinking through
Lots
your
of
lighting
planning.
a lot. Maybe you have a setup to where you're just like, we're going to just shoot so many. And then in post, you're really picking out the ones that fit the best. But I don't know. I just feel like
very cool.
Definitely a crazy looking image. This was one of the highest rated images as well, 3.35.
Well deserved.
Second to last image.
All right.
3, 2, 1.
3, 2-ish.
2-ish.
Little high, very high 2 or a 3 to me. Yeah, I feel like we've kind of talked about this type of imagery. Just the nice classic pose, black and white shot looks good. Backlit, good definition. Yeah. Don't have much to comment on.
Yeah, I mean, again, I see images like this all the time. And what distinguishes a solid 3 or higher from the 2s and lower I feel like it's model choice, it's body position, it's like some kind of elegance that's hard to describe.
Yeah.
It's hard to put a finger on it, but I feel like this has that. I love her left hand that's just like kind of dainty and like soft. I don't know. It's a really pretty photo. I've seen so many of these. I don't know that I'm going to be like, remember that one? You know, that's not going to ever be called back to memory. But again, I would make the argument that you could make money being a 3-star photographer. I mean, I think in many ways I'm a 3-star photographer, and you know, you can make a business out of that. So I think this is great. This belongs in your portfolio. I don't really know what more I want. And
yeah, I think it's probably just subtle lighting choices and
it's not
slight body movements at this point to elevate it beyond a 3.
See, I think it's more than that. I think this is very well lit. I think this is perfect body position. I think it's like concept. I think it's like saying, okay, I've done this a dozen times, 1,000 times, whatever. I've mastered this. Now what is the next conceptual thing that no one else has done, or something that I want to bring to the table that I haven't seen done before, and I'm going to add that to my imagery. And I don't know what that thing is, but I just feel like in terms of pose and lighting and model choice, I feel like these are all great. Like, I don't know that I would have anything to critique on how to do this better. I just think this is
different. Like, when I say that, I mean like playing around with, you know, the edge light is pretty strong on her. It's very contrasty.
Yeah.
You could play around with different ways of fill or edging out the right side of her body or whatever. And maybe some of those things, I don't know for sure, but maybe some of those things would make it slightly more striking.
Do you think if this image, imagine this image with 2, 3, 4 different gelled lights, and it looked more like that other image that we saw, would that be enough to make it be like, whoa, that's really different?
Hard to visualize that. I don't know that I would agree with that. I mean, yeah, hard to visualize.
I don't know if gelling is the right answer. I'm just trying to think of like, what else can you do in this genre that brings something kind of fresh to the table? Maybe people out there would say gelled lights is not fresh at all, Patrick. What are you talking about? But community gives this one a 3.3, also one of the higher rated images.
That is higher than I expected.
And this is the final image of the critique. Ready? 3, 2, 1.
3.
Solid 3.
I don't mind the concept. I like that there's like the extra element of water in there. Obviously, like, yeah, the concept of like shapes and roundness and lighting spheres and all that plays well together. I think if I were being picky, I think something extra that might be added to this is just different toning, maybe a little more consistency with color to where, you know, the blues of the water are playing up on the sphere, and then it's kind of this slight not orange, but yellowy cast near the top, and same with her. I feel like that's a little distracting. Maybe some sort of more even overlay, color overlay might bring it together a little bit more.
I keep wondering what this would look like black and white if I would, because when you add shapes like this reminds me of like drawing class when you have to like do the shadows on the sphere and the cone and everything. I wonder if making it black and white would play on that theme of black and white drawing thing, you know, or if I would like it less. I don't know.
I'd also be interested if you you'd have to do dodging and burning, but the right side of the sphere is very dark, but the right side of her is not, because you're getting all the fill light from the sphere itself. I almost wish there was more consistency between those, since that's what you're trying to match, these themes of shape and
you think
light fall off.
Her side closer to the sphere, you want more shadow?
Yeah, maybe, and I don't know if that means just stepping her away from the sphere or, again, going in and dodging it darker.
Yeah, that's like a tricky situation, because
But I think that might add a little more interesting visual element to it that brings cohesion to the concept.
One thing that's interesting about this, I didn't know about this until I did the critique with Pi that I mentioned earlier. There is a location outside of LA that this is shot in where it's a pool, very thin water pool, and they have 2 or 3 of these balls. And people do this stuff all the time. Maybe the balls move, maybe they're permanent.
I've seen this kind of set concept before, so that makes sense.
It's like a skate park that they've added, a foot or half a foot of water in. And they do this kind of stuff all the time. So in some ways, I think, one, that's really cool that there's like some business owner out there who has this crazy place and he charges people to shoot, I assume. But on the other hand, I'm kind of like, oh, it's just like this image exists in many people's portfolio. Obviously not this girl, obviously not this whole lighting setup, but like the water ball location thing, And if you are from LA or from there, you're probably like, you may dismiss the image more because it's been done so many times. That's kind of a sad reality. I feel like we deal with that a lot with landscapes. So many people have shot the exact same place, and you're like, oh, there's another Kirchhoff image from the exact same place. Like, if you're into art and you're into landscapes, you probably just say, I dismiss that entirely because I'm so tired of that location. Maybe it's like that with the fine art world. But so that wraps up this Critique the Community. How do you think that went, David? How much trouble are you going to be in with your wife?
I don't know. I think she'll forgive me.
Do you think she'll even know?
Will I tell her?
Are you going to tell her?
That's the real question.
That, hey,
I will probably tell her, I'm sure.
16 naked women and about 4 naked dudes.
I'm pretty open with my wife about those things.
No, I thought it was really fun.
Yeah,
we've intentionally ignored that for a number of reasons, and then Lee said, let's do nude photography, see how it goes. And of course, with YouTube, we have to blur out all of the nudity so that our video doesn't get pulled. But if you guys want to submit your own images, head over to fstoppers.com/contest. You can check out the newest contest, even if it's months from watching this video. And if you want to check out all the tutorials that we give away, head over to fstoppers.com/store. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, but also subscribe to the Fstoppers live channel. I'll put a link in the description below as well, because typically we like to do these live. It's a little more fun to be able to read everyone's comments and read the backstories. And we've done a lot of work getting that in place, but then when we travel, we can't possibly do the live show. So
good to see you guys.
All right, we'll see you guys soon.